This podcast is brought to you by the Maryland State Library Agency. The MSLA podcast features presenters from statewide youth programs, as well as learning opportunities for library staff and resources for patrons of the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled.
Hello, I'm Communications Manager Tim Pratt, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Director of the Maryland 250 Commission, Michele Johnson. Welcome to the program, Michele.
Thanks so much, Tim. It is great to be here with you.
So, can you tell me a little bit about the Maryland 250 Commission, some of the history, when it was formed, who oversees it, and some of the roles and responsibilities?
Sure. So the Maryland 250 Commission was created by executive order by Governor Wes Moore on July 3rd, 2023. And the commission is charged with developing, encouraging, and executing an inclusive statewide commemoration of the semi-quincentennial, and that is the big word, for the 250th birthday of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And by executive order, the commission has three themes: history, civics, and service, and a whole number of priorities, most notably engaging all Marylanders. And we do not want to leave any Marylanders behind in this initiative. We are also charged with sharing stories of free and enslaved African Americans, Indigenous people and communities, and immigrants, seniors, and youth. And the commission is chaired by former Governor Paris Glendening. The vice chair is former First Lady and retired Judge Katie O'Malley. And we have, along with them, we have 34 commissioners in all, including the Lieutenant Governor, various cabinet secretaries, the Adjutant General of the Maryland National Guard, a couple of state senators, and just a whole team of rock stars.
Very good. And you mentioned trying to engage the community. What does that look like for you?
Sure. So besides the Maryland 250 Commission, there are local 250 committees and commissions launching all around the state. And the best opportunity for engagement is certainly in the communities where people live. But beyond that, the state commission, is doing some initiatives of our own, but really we exist to support local commissions and communities.
Gotcha. And so why is this work important? Why is it important for people to recognize this upcoming anniversary or to celebrate it?
So 50 years ago, almost, was the American bicentennial. And, it is a whole new day, particularly in Maryland. And we now look at things a little bit differently in Maryland than we did for the bicentennial. And I want to give you an example. I'm from a family of immigrants. My grandparents, all four of them were immigrants. And I remember the bicentennial happening, but my family did not participate. And I asked my dad why. I asked him, I said, "Do you remember the bicentennial? Why didn't we participate?" And he said it wasn't for us. And so my job is to make sure that no Marylander feels that way this time around.
Gotcha. And how did you get involved with the Maryland 250 Commission? Were you working in another agency? Were you doing similar work elsewhere?
No, actually, I spent most of my career in the nonprofit sector. I spent some time in the federal government and the Federal Highway Administration. I never knew about this role. I never expected it. And I just got a call one day from the Secretary of Planning. And she said, "We know that you were looking for an opportunity in the new administration." This was in early 2023. She said, "We know you're looking for something and we know what you're looking for, but we're looking at you for something else. And we would like to know if you were interested." And I looked at the opportunity and said, "Oh, I didn't know about this, but I am really, really interested." And that Secretary of Planning is Rebecca Flora, and we are actually housed in the Department of Planning in the Maryland Historical Trust.
Gotcha. And so there are like similar groups in other states around the country, right? Can you talk a little bit about how Maryland 250 either works with them or how you were all kind of in this larger group?
So the Maryland 250 Commission is the official partner in Maryland of America 250. And at this point, it's taken a while to get there, but nationally, there are now 50, all 50 states and 6 territories have some type of 250 initiative, whether it's commission, a committee, a task force, whatever it is. All states and all territories have some type of 250 initiative. And I learned recently that some other countries actually have an America 250 initiative. And the one I can speak a little about is Spain. And this came as a complete surprise. It never occurred to me, and I had never heard this until a meeting a couple of weeks ago, that other countries were going to have an America 250 initiative.
That's
But we
very
work
interesting.
very closely. America 250, they are now convening us. The state directors at this point about once a month. And the American Association for State and Local History convenes the state directors quarterly. And we also meet in person on occasion. And coming up in late March is a conference in Williamsburg, Virginia, hosted by Virginia 250. And many of my peers will be there. I will be there, and I believe there will be other Marylanders there also. And last fall, we were in Philadelphia. Last summer, we were in Washington, D.C.
Gotcha. That's all very interesting. And I knew you mentioned earlier some of the local efforts. Can you talk about Maryland counties and their role in this? I mean, do all the counties have a similar commission or organization that's running this, or most of them? Can you just talk about the local efforts?
Not all, Tim, but many, many. And I would say, and I hope nobody gets mad at me for saying this, but I would say the communities that are leading the state are Dorchester and Southern Maryland, and they are
Okay.
really leading the state. There are local 250 commissions or committees in Frederick County, in Howard County, in Washington County. And I will say this, Washington County and Montgomery County are interesting because they will have their 250th birthday as a county in the 250th year.
Oh, wow.
And so they are very, very unique. And see, now I've walked into this place where I'm listing, and I don't want to forget anyone. There is a Lower Shore 250 initiative, and they are doing great work in Somerset, Worcester, and Wycomico County. My county, Talbot, we have a new 250 commission, all listed on our website. And one other really, really active 250 commission is the Annapolis 250 Commission. They are doing great work in Annapolis. Carroll County has a 250 group that is doing really well. It is a commission appointed by the county commissioners. Prince George's County 250, and I think I got them all. And I do want to share. There are 2 local communities that are sharing very, very important milestone birthdays, either this year or next year. Deep Creek Lake is having its 100th birthday this year, and there are a series of events planned in Deep Creek Lake. Ocean City 150 is also this year, and again, they are planning a year-long commemoration at Ocean City. Besides that, Salisbury University is turning 100. Johns Hopkins University 150. They call that their sesquicentennial. And so anyway, so beyond America's 250th birthday, there are other really important commemorations happening all around the state.
And what do these, I know you mentioned like Dorchester County and Southern Maryland as it being, standing out to you. Like, what are some of the things that these organizations are doing? Like, what specifically are they doing? Like displays, parades, events? What kind of stuff are they doing?
So Tim, I'm a social scientist, but not a historian, and
Mhm.
I learned something new every day. And there was a presidential yacht called the Sequoia, and it actually was taken out of commission by President Jimmy Carter in the 70s, who felt that it was just inappropriate to have a presidential yacht. And turns out that yacht is now in a shipyard in Cambridge.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's going to be some events coming up very soon in Cambridge, telling the story of this yacht and bringing people onto the yacht. It's really, really interesting.
Mhm.
I will say this, in Dorchester County, pretty much every event that they have related to history, civics, or service, the themes of the commission, they use the Maryland 250 partner logo on these events. And, many events in Dorchester are considered 250 events. And in Southern Maryland, they have a really cool event coming up in early April called Rebels and Redcoats. And many of these events you can find on the events page of the Maryland 250 website.
Gotcha. And that kind of makes me think of I have a follow-up question to that. I know, but I mean, has there been any kind of historical stuff that surprised you? Or I mean, I feel like you're probably learning new stuff all the time about the state, right? Have you any other things jumped out at you, or have you learned anything else interesting out there?
Tim, I have surprises every day. I truly learn something new every day. And so last year we had a kickoff event, and it was at the State House, and it was to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Frederick Douglass's 1874 visit to Annapolis. And what Frederick Douglass did, he went into the Maryland State House, same building that exists today, and he recited from memory George Washington's resignation speech from the Continental Army. And so we had a Frederick Douglass reenactor, Mr. Nathan Richardson, and he recited that speech. And then he led us on a walk from the State House to the Banneker Douglass Museum, where we followed in Frederick Douglass's footsteps. And that was a really interesting story. But there are stories that I never knew. I truly learned something new every day. I didn't know about the Chestertown Tea Party. And last year, 2024, was the 250th anniversary of the Chestertown Tea Party. This year, or last year also, was the 250th anniversary of the Peggy Stewart, the sinking of the Peggy Stewart, and in the Annapolis Harbor. So, there are so many stories, and we have a stories page on the Maryland 250 website that we're building. I mean, everything we do is a work in progress. We've only been in business for not even 2 years as a commission, and we will only be around till the end of 2027. So everything we do is still a work in progress. But check out our website, because there's a lot of good information there.
Yeah, I've looked through the website myself, and it's incredible. I'm a local history buff, so I've spent probably too much time on your website. So I would second that. I would encourage anybody listening to go check out the Maryland 250 website.
Never too much time, Tim.
So since we are, obviously a library focused agency, I was hoping we could kind of pivot a little bit, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the role of libraries in the Maryland 250 efforts and why it's important for libraries to be involved.
I have known since my first day in this job, almost 2 years ago, of the importance of libraries as partners for the 250th. And in fact, here in Talbot County, where I live, the launch of Talbot 250 was actually at the library in Easton. And anyway, but all around the state, there are Maryland rooms, and I know that the Maryland State Library Agency has done a great map about Maryland rooms in libraries around the state. And I've been to several of Maryland rooms, and there's gold in there. You just got to walk in the door and learn. But the work of libraries, it is so important, and really connected to all three of our themes: history, civics, and service. And yeah, libraries are great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've done the same thing, checked out Maryland rooms at pretty much every library I go to that has them. And you can find not only just old books, but maps, photos, you name it, they've got it. So again, another plug for our local libraries here to find your local Maryland room at the MSLA website, and you can get lost in there for hours as well. So I know we've spoken before about some possible grant opportunities for libraries out there. Could you talk a little bit about that? Is there anything that libraries can do that are specifically related to Maryland 250 or history that you can speak about?
Sure. So the Maryland 250 Commission has 3 small grant programs. And when I say small, that word small is the key word there. Now, eligibility for the Citizen Academy Grant Program was actually expanded recently to include libraries. Any library around the state can apply to have a citizen academy in their library. And what a citizen academy is, it is an opportunity, a short-term and free opportunity for residents of any community in Maryland to learn about their community, with the hope that at the end they choose to be engaged in some way, whether it is by volunteering on the Planning Commission, the Board of Public Works, the Library Board. And then beyond that, the other two grant programs, Maryland 250 Fellows, and that is that is a grant to cover the cost of an intern, and in the case of nonprofits, with a mentor stipend. And that is our largest grant. That's up to $7,500. Our Inclusive History grant is up to $4,000. That is for programs, projects, events, exhibitions. And so anyway, those are our three small grant programs. And in round one, which was last fall, we awarded 45 grants totaling $187,000. And round two will be open through April 1st of this year. And I am fairly certain that there's going to be a round three.
Oh, wow.
We're just going to keep at it, Tim, until all the money is awarded. And the sooner we can get this money out, the better. And one huge goal of the commission is to make sure this money is spread around the state. And our team just mapped our first 45 grants yesterday. And we know the parts of the state that did very well in that grant program. We know the parts of the state where we got no applications from. And we are really going to be knocking on the doors in those communities to say, hey, we have this money, apply.
Gotcha. And can people find information about these grants on your website?
Yes. So on our website, we have a grants page.
Okay, great.
And Tim, one other thing about that grants page, besides the Maryland 250 grants, scroll below it and you can find grants from other state agencies, from private funders, and the federal grants are still listed, but as we know, they're kind of in flux right now.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. And can you talk a little bit about some of your upcoming events or anything that you're partnering on any other organizations with? I believe I heard something about 688 and possibly a symposium. Can you just talk about some of the things you've got going on?
Sure. So excellent. So I want to start by sharing that every 6 weeks we have a statewide virtual convening of stakeholders. And we started that in February of 2024, and it's gone very well. And we're just going to keep going. We also have virtual monthly office hours, and anyone who is interested in the 250th is welcome to join us. We advertise them on social media, and we also advertise them on the news page of our website. And we are actually convening in person on May 5th in Crownsville. And we will soon be opening up registration, and anyone who wants more information about that is welcome to reach out to me or anyone on our team. Regarding the 688, over the holidays, my family and I watched the movie The 688, and I love that movie. It was incredible. And what a great story about giving this all-female battalion in World War II, all women of color, about giving them an impossible job and giving them terrible living conditions and terrible working conditions and giving them a timeline that would never work. And these women overachieved. So there were 800 some women in this battalion. And I wonder if any of these women have a Maryland connection, and did some Googling, found a list of 19. And actually that list of 19 is actually bigger, because there are other women who are not on that list that have some type of Maryland connection. We don't know how many. We know of at least one, but I'm just guessing that there are more. So our team did research on these 19 Maryland women, and we found out where they were from and their stories, and they all served our country, but the stories are incredible. So anyway, 5 of these women had Eastern Shore Connections. And I reached out to two of the heritage areas, the heart of the Chesapeake, which is in Dorchester County, and the Beach to Bay Heritage area on the lower shore, the three lower shore counties, and said, hey, what do you think about co-sponsoring an event, commemorating the Eastern Shore women of the 688. And so anyway, there's an event in Salisbury at the Chipman Center on March 19th at 7 o'clock at night. And we are the co-sponsor along with the two heritage areas and the Chipman Center. And Dr. Clara Small, who is a retired history professor from Salisbury University, will be presenting this program. I'm really, really excited about this. And beyond that, I have been to another event at the Maryland World War II Memorial in Annapolis. And the Secretary of Veterans and Military Families, Secretary Woods, he was there along with the Adjutant General, General Burkhead. And it was a wonderful program. There was a descendant of one of the women of the 688.
Oh, wow.
And it was a beautiful, brief program. There was a proclamation in the Maryland State Senate and in the House of Delegates, again honoring the women of the 688. And actually, Governor Moore has declared March 9th the annual 688 Day in Maryland. And there's other events too. I mean, this is real. This is such a great story, and it's a story I never knew about it until I saw this movie.
Mhm. I feel like I can sense your enthusiasm for all this stuff and your excitement. And you said you don't really have a history background, right? I mean, has this been surprising to you to be? I mean, I feel like you've kind of dove in head first and you're really embracing it. Like, what are you getting out of this?
Tim, I hope none of my teachers are listening. But the way history was taught when in the classrooms that I was in as a kid, it was not interesting at all. And in this job, I have just developed a love of history that, it's just been awakened in a way that has just come to life. It's incredible.
Yeah. Um, and kind of looking ahead, does Maryland 250 have anything special planned for July 4th of 2026 or even this year? Or are you guys kind of just supporting local efforts? Like, what is your role there? And what are some local efforts that you're aware of, if you don't
And
mind?
I've discussed this very question with my peers around the country. And, local communities all around Maryland do their own thing on July 4th or, the day before, the day after. And we don't ever want to get in the way of our local communities. But with that said, there are some major initiatives that we are planning that will actually start this year and then go through 2026. One is a statewide professional baseball partnership with with the six minor league teams in Maryland. And these minor league teams are everywhere, right? I mean, they are really, they are just all around the state. So we are very excited to be working with the minor league teams on a Maryland 250 night at each of the ballparks, and other special things that are still in the works. And the other thing we're going to do, we are going to be at major festivals all around the state. And, we're looking to put together a Maryland 250 exhibit that can be packed up and taken to festivals. And we're very, very excited about that. And so basically we are looking at the infrastructure that already exists. And why reinvent the wheel? Let's just support our local stakeholders in a way that makes the most sense. And this really makes the most sense.
As a baseball fan, you're really speaking my language here.
Well,
So
I hope you join us, Tim. And you are welcome to come out to all six.
you that sounds like a challenge, and I may take you up on that. So, what do you hope the public gets out of all these Maryland 250 efforts?
I just want Marylanders to feel great about this beautiful state that we have. And these are difficult times and we have great leadership and we have a wonderful state. And I am so proud. I mean, I was born in Maryland and I chose to stay here. And I am just so proud of our state. I want Marylanders to feel great about our state.
Very good. And kind of pivoting back to the libraries angle, can you talk about your own personal relationship with Maryland Public Libraries? I mean, do you have a favorite library or favorite books or authors? And do you have time to read anymore?
It's funny. I got my driver's license, obviously a really, really long time ago. And the first time I was ever given the keys to drive somewhere alone, where did I go? I went to the public library. And that's something I'll never forget. And as a kid, I was an avid reader, and oh my gosh, I mean, I just love reading. I would go to the library every week and bring home a big stack of books. When my kids were young, we went to story time at the library, and now I am on the road all the time.
Mhm.
And I heard about audiobooks, and I'm so embarrassed to say this. I heard about audiobooks, but I never listened to one. And last year I was driving to Williamsburg, and it's 4 hours each way. And I thought, I'm gonna go on the Libby app, and I'm gonna get an audiobook. And that first audiobook that I listened to was Hidden Figures. And I have never seen the movie. And
Mhm.
and I still haven't seen the movie, but I loved the audiobook. And since then, and I mostly, I think all I've listened to is nonfiction. And I have heard, I mean, I love Libby. I love audiobooks. I listened to Justice Kataji Brown Jackson's book, Lovely One. I'm right now listening to Justice Sotomayor's book. I loved Medgar and Merle by Joy Reid. And anyway, I have a list that I'm happy to share with you of my favorites. But I've just, oh my God, I love audiobooks. And I'm so glad that even though and probably till after 2026 is over, audiobooks is going to be it for me.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Michelle. This has been great. Is there anything else you want to add about Maryland 250 or Maryland libraries or just anything else we've talked about today?
I just want to say thank you to Maryland libraries, because Maryland libraries, you're such an important part of our state, and of all of our local communities. And it's just really so important. And yeah, I mean, these are just difficult times, and we have never needed our libraries more, and we have never needed books and audiobooks more. And people really, I want people to read, and yeah, it's really, really important. And then as far as the 250th, I ask all Marylanders who hear this podcast to go to our website, mdtwofifty.maryland.gov. And it is a special website that we had to ask for permission to stray from the state website template. And on our website, you can see events, you can see places, stories. On the Get Involved page, you can see where the local initiatives are, and then check out the grants page, and also our news page. But anyway, just get involved in the 250th, and hopefully we will all learn about, a lot about our state and ourselves as we go through this.
Very good. Again, this is the Maryland State Library Agency's Guest Hour. I'm joined today by Michele Johnson from the Maryland 250 Commission. Thank you again, Michele.
Thank you so much, Tim.
This podcast is brought to you by the Maryland State Library Agency. The MSLA podcast features presenters from statewide youth programs, as well as learning opportunities for library staff and resources for patrons of the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled.